You are live, and I turned off notifications.
All right, everybody, we are live here. How is everybody doing today?
Wonderful.
We are missing one human, the one and only Mr. Stephen Harrington. He is landing from a flight, so we expect that he is going to be joining us shortly for those of you out there. But so excited. We're here today doing our Hard Market Hero live Q&A. So for all you insurance agencies out there that maybe have signed up, want to learn more, have not signed up, we start next Tuesday, 10 a.m. East Coast time, I believe is our first one. We've got 3 sessions every single week. So agencies are either signing up their team or going ahead and closing the office. And it's 6 weeks of content, which is so amazing. One of the things that we definitely have going on is the first one is next week is all about leadership. So I figure we can start there, give people a little overview while some questions funnel on in and they can see us. So I've talked about this a lot, but to me, leadership is so key in this environment because I think no one's written the playbook on how to manage an agency in a hard market. And we're seeing a lot of things. So I thought it'd be good just to give a little overview maybe from all you guys. What are you seeing out there? I know I'm seeing a lot of people that are a little crispy, a little burned out, not really clear on the plan or the strategy, and definitely trapped in what we call feelings mode. We feel like everybody's got a lot going on. We feel like there's just so much, negativity, people upset about rate, and we don't always realize the forest through the trees. So Bobby, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I think you're right, Kelly. I think a lot of people are a little frustrated. They seem tired, a little overwhelmed. Like they just want the tools to be able to have these conversations because they're feeling like maybe they're attacked and they're on the defense a little bit right now.
Absolutely. How about you, Therese? Anything you're seeing out there?
I see the owners kind of with their blinders on and just pretending that everything out there is working okay. I think sometimes they just throw people into roles and just assume those people know what they're doing. And I think that's where the disconnect is. They think they know what's happening and they don't have processes and procedures, especially large agencies that purchase other agencies. They lose track of that staff. And I think the staff needs to know that their owners and managers are on their side. And I think we forget to give them strategies and find solutions for them to basically deal with the everyday, everything that's happening. So they're just winging it. They're winging it. They're just doing what they can. They're doing the same thing over and over again, whether it's right or wrong. And they're just winging it. They're nervous. They're what do I do? What happens if the phone rings and it's this and what? So they're just kind of being reactive to everything that's going on in the market. And I think we need to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to ask everybody out there, are you suffering from these hard market symptoms? Okay. So some symptoms we are seeing out there as a hard market that need leadership, right? Low staff morale. Lots of what do we call bitter beer face. Then we have the second part of it is people kind of over reshopping. So there's a ton of shopping in the marketplace. And a lot of that has to do with we haven't really explained to everybody yet that we will be in this market for 2 to 5 years. So the earliest we're going to come out of this is probably the end of 2025, which means that we can put people on an awful big hamster wheel, which we don't want to do. We also see a lot in this marketplace, like very much frustration with carriers because the underwriting guidelines are so thin. Lots of new underwriters and they're learning and getting stronger. And, the new teams of underwriters are much more tech driven for communication than picking up the phone driven necessarily. And based on the volume of work that they have, the efficiency of using more online communications is huge. So we're seeing a lot of frustration on that front. And then also just very much unclarity. Who do we remarket? Who don't we? Who is it okay to let go of? And so I think that there's just so many things that are going on that's causing a lot of frustration. So I think that, there's just this general feeling of, and we show this in our first session of the stages of dealing with change. And we're sort of in the frustration and depression phase, right? Like, holy macaroni, what's the plan? And our next step is to give a plan. That's why so many agencies have signed up for our Hard Market Hero series that we're super psyched to do. So we do have a few questions that have come in. So we have Jean Megan Weldon. Nice to see you today. Thank you, Jean. How much work should be done on a renewal before a renewal call to be efficient? Oh my gosh. Can I take this one?
Yes.
Yes, let me just say I'm excited to see Megan's name because I know she's going to be at the series because I know she's already signed up. So I'm excited.
Okay.
I think it's Jean and Megan, two different people. So I'm excited to see them and see them here. So
we have a combo pack here. Yeah. So keep sending in your questions, guys, for sure. But I think that one of the things that, as far as that goes, I am a big believer that we do not need to do a ton of work to get ready for a renewal review because things have changed. So we have this statement that we talk about on renewals. You can't scuba dive. You have to snorkel. Okay. So scuba dive means I want to go through and make everything accurate. And I'm going to go back and go look at 17 applications to find the year of the roof. And I'm going to go make everything perfect before I call, or I'm going to remarket the account before I call, blowing up the entire reason we would do a renewal review, which is to get new and updated information, right? So what we say is this: prep for a renewal call should take between 5 and 8 minutes. 8 on the higher side if it's an account like mine with 8 or 9 policies, and even less than 5 if it's a monoline. Okay. What the goal is, we familiarize, we make the call. The goal is not to prep to make calls. The goal is to call people, right? So I think that we have to be very honest and upfront that it's okay to put don't know, and ask the client on the phone call. Just say, hey, we're updating our system. I don't want to assume anything. Be a cool person, roll with the punches, and you'll get there. But the reality is, in an hour, you should be able to get through four renewal calls. And that's even if you're talking to the person. With my personal lines account, it was a 12-minute renewal call for 9 policies. Okay. And we're not trying to go down to the depths of the earth. I bumped my umbrella up. Now, we had been doing them for a while because the agency I go to does renewal calls, lo and behold. But at the end of the day, they get faster and faster and faster the more you do them. So that is one great question. So thank you. Hopefully we gave you some good feedback there. Is there a good no-go on whether or not to provide a reshop quote? Great. Another great question. So on providing a reshop quote, we have a whole checklist that's going to be in the Hard Market Hero series. Okay. So you need to scrub those accounts. I'm going to tell you guys this, a big message we're going to be giving out to teams. And again, this is for your whole staff, is because we're going to be here for 3 to 5 years. We don't want to blow our remarket in year 1. All right. So what does that mean? So if I shop them year 1, I'm going to put them with the carrier that's got good rates and is open taking new business right now. What do you think is going to happen to that carrier next year if we're in this for 3 to 5 years? It's going to shrink like a raisin. And they're going to raise rates and do non-renewals. And so I don't want to move people around. So what we're really trying to do more than anything is push more and more people towards the idea of clean up the account in year 1 and year 2, go for it. Now, there are some carriers sending very clear messages that they would like off this risk. They have provided a renewal, but it went up 67%. Okay. In those situations, that is an appropriate time to look. But I say that before we do that, we need to talk about inspection. We need to talk about down payments. We need to talk about the escrow payments. We need to get all the updates. And if they have a Fluffy the pit bull, we're not moving them because we're going to face inspection issues. So I think the best thing that you guys can do is come to session 6, which is all about our remarketing strategy. And the goal is to kind of put them through a filter where, each filter step gets lower and lower and lower, and only the best people pass through at the very, very, very end of it. So we're remarketing out of preparation, not desperation. I don't know, Bobby and Therese, if you have anything on that front.
I think, Jean Megan Weldon said it best here. We have always called all of our renewals, and it is making it much easier now, right? So being proactive is going to be the winner in this market that we're in. We have to get in front of things. We have to start jumping on it and start building those relationships, because the most important thing is for our clients to trust us right now. We are the licensed professional. We have to educate them and walk them through this process and be their partner in it so that they understand what's going on. And that way they're not calling my competition either. because they trust me and they like Bobby and they know that I have their best interest at heart.
Well, and I think we need to start looking at those reshops or those remarkets as a negative instead of a positive. So the positive is reviewing their current account and everything they have on the current account, looking for discounts, finding ways to save if it's a monoline, cross-selling it, bundling those discounts, and then looking at the remarket as there's nowhere else to go. Because when we look at the remarkets as an easy solution, we're reducing the amount of premium that comes into the agency. Now, we may be reducing it with finding the discounts and everything, but we're keeping that policy and we're not going through all the extra work of rewriting. So we have to think at all the negative stuff of rewriting. Basically, the time it takes you to quote, all the applications and stuff that it takes you to get through, all the communicating with carriers and getting back in touch with clients. So there's a lot that goes into remarketing. And for some reason in our industry, we've started to look at that as, oh, let's just remarket them. It's the easiest way to go, when it's really not. So we got to stop looking at that and look at those dangers of remarketing, like Kelly mentioned, which is like the inspections, and the having to have a roof replaced or something. So we've got to look at those dangers and work off of those dangers to try to stop the remarkets and try to review our current policies.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another question in here too from Troy Thompson. Good to see you, my friend Troy. But what about endorsements and what ifs? I'm thinking that this is in regards to the renewal review, as far as reviewing endorsements. And Troy, if I'm off base on the comment, let me know. I think that you always have to be looking at, some agencies will check the endorsements when they come in and scrub the accounts. Some agencies check it at renewal, very much all over the map on this front. But to me, an endorsement represents a change, which should represent a mini review of the account no matter what. And it's an update. If I'm getting a new car and I'm going from a Honda Accord to a Suburban, there could have been a big life change there, right? Or if I'm going from a Suburban to a 2-seater convertible and getting divorced and I got my revenge car, who knows what we got going on. Same thing in commercial lines. Maybe I'm buying 3 trucks. Well, guess what? If I bought 3 trucks, my business is probably going, and I'm going to have an audit situation potentially on my hands. So I think we all have to be honest about the fact that an endorsement represents a change represents an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to better educate your client. And, as we go ahead and we look at all of the things that we have going on, so many agencies get stuck in transactional mode because they feel like they don't have any time, right? And time is our friend. And so we want to spend more time with the right people. So I'm going to lean in on, one of our next scenarios, which is time management. Okay. So time management is session 2. So that's where we kind of open it up to the whole team. The first one's all about leadership. How do we lead our teams? We're going to talk about motivation, how to handle burnout, how to incentivize your staff, how to make sure that we're keeping them up in front. And I'm going to talk a lot about the metrics you need to be sharing with your staff. In this marketplace, most agencies are growing. Okay. We might not be growing by PIF, but we're growing by premium and revenue. But the agents just see how many people are leaving, how many people are upset. So their perspective on things is doom and gloom. Our perspective on things is growth, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can motivate and incentivize people based on that. But session 2 coming up would be all about how to manage our time. And I'm just going to give my top one and then have you guys give your top one as we talk about time. But mine is, we have to tier our clients. And this is controversial because there's some people out there say, we want to give everybody the same service. You know what? When times are good, 100%. When times are good at an airport, everybody gets to their location on time. When times are bad at an airport, I get rebooked on a Delta flight ahead of other people because I have another one booked next week and they want to keep me happy. And in this marketplace, we can also very clearly say that we're going to give people good service. We're going to give our top clients, extraordinary great service. And we're going to donate the bottom feeders to our competition because they've never been profitable. We've held on to them for too long. And to be honest with you, we just simply do not have the time or the bandwidth to overthink a $700 premium auto policy that wants to come in and pay every single week. So I need everybody to be thinking about tiering their clients and donating the bottom of the barrel to the competition. And we even use an example of me and my brother. Well, my brother sometimes has insurance, sometimes pays his bills, sometimes has all these things. And in 5 years, I've needed one certificate and we changed one vehicle. And I have in total between personal and commercial about 18 policies. Who got more service? Who needs to make sure they trust their agent right now? Who needs to make sure that you won't get referrals off of? And we always deprioritize our top clients because we're so busy with the bottom feeders that we want to put an end to that in this marketplace. So who's got next? Well, Bobby, what was your favorite one?
I really think that right now we need to really understand that our renewals are going to take us a little bit longer, right? So we need to be prepared for that. We need to be supporting our staff in knowing that some of these renewals are going to take them a little bit longer. And so they really need to be spending their time preparing rather than repairing an account. So I think that's going to be super important for people to understand that the more time I spend preparing upfront, the better, my relationship will be, and I don't have to go into repair mode.
And I'll couple what Bobby said, Therese, before I let you up, but we also need to be encouraging people to get on automated payments. We need to be encouraging people to get on client portals. We need to be encouraging people to use online tools. Now, I didn't say mandate. So some people are going to hear me and say, my customers don't want to get on that. A lot of your customers don't know that they exist and they don't know why they would need them because your team doesn't always want them to go to those portals because it's easier to take a payment sometimes, or they don't understand how the portals work themselves because they don't use them. So it's time to start investigating things like virtual assistants and looking at what you can take off of licensed people that is non-licensed work so that they can have the conversations with your policyholders that are great premium and not feel the pressure of, oh my gosh, but this so-and-so needs XYZ. We need to start optimizing and scaling agencies. Therese, what's your favorite time management tip?
Time management tip is pretty much self-reflect on how you're using your time. I noticed when I would get frustrated or annoyed by doing something, I would go right to social media, and that's how I would distract myself. But if we're not paying attention at how much time we're spending on social media or venting with coworkers, we're wasting a ton of time that we could be using more wisely. So I think people are like, oh no, I never do that. But when they start to really self-reflect and look at how much time they're wasting during the day, I think they waste a lot more time than they think they do. And if it's not social media, it's stuff like venting to coworkers or chit-chatting. So we need to just self-reflect. And I get sometimes we have to, calm down. We have to find ways to distract from certain things that we're projects or something we're working on. But we also have to be mindful of that time that we're wasting, how we waste our time. There may be a better way to waste our time that helps the agency rather than doing things that are kind of mindless like social media.
And a wise person once told me that when someone's upset, they're just reacting and they're reacting to new news. And we've all been that person. If a flight's canceled at an airport, I'm not my personal best for a good 2-3 minutes before I get my shiz together. The other thing is don't go home thinking about these clients that are upset. You're inviting them to dinner. And we need to understand that they're just digesting the information. We're not Disney World, but we are here on the worst days of people's lives. And so I think it's really critical. I'm going to queue up Nick Vitale here. What are you doing to incorporate generative AI into your sales process? So I have a lot of thoughts on this. And I think that AI is a huge and powerful tool. But I also think that all these vendors that are popping up, we have to be careful who we're trusting. You can't trust AI blindly either. We don't really know who's behind necessarily programming some of the AI bots, how they're leaning. Is it that in alignment with your core values? So I would like to say AI is a great jumping off point on things, but it still does require at this point in time until AI learns you and your values and learns from you, that there's still some of that. Now, I think a couple things. We have definitely used ChatGPT and put in there how to explain a rate increase in New York. And it is pretty spot on. Okay. So I think for using it on the fly, it can be, a very good tool, or using it to create scripts for your agency. I also think that there's a lot of AI tools that can give you insight into people or businesses that you wouldn't necessarily get by, just kind of asking Kelly about her business, because AI is going to scour the bowels. Now, you might like what you see. You might not like what you see. I do think underwriting is going to start incorporating AI because it's got to. And that can open up a whole nother scenario. I do think that, utilizing AI, and you've already see it somewhat in some of the technologies like Donna that are going out and scrubbing and saying this person's likely to have a motorcycle. You are seeing it out there already. So to me, I think it's harnessing the vendors to come into play, significantly vetting them, educating your team, but using it. There's a comment that I learned a long time ago when I first got into insurance technology about 15 years ago. It's still technology assisted sales. It's not technology through sales or sales through technology. These tools are here to assist us. They're not necessarily here to replace us. And that's for right now. I can't tell you what'll happen 5 or 10 years from now. If we can get a Kelly hologram that can go on airplanes instead of me, I would definitely look into investing that some days. But for the time being, I think that you can definitely use it to throw scripts in there. You can definitely go ahead and identify some key points. You can use it for research. You can use it for social media posts, but it still is going to require a person. And everyone I've ever done, because I've been playing around with it with some of our marketing, I've had to clean up. It wasn't 100% spot on. So I'm not in a place yet personally where I trust AI to just do the whole scenario for us. So good question, Nick. And I think it's something we got to keep our pulse on, because just like I will say this to Nick and everybody out there, I think AI is huge. I still think we have a ton of work to do on telematics and getting adoption on that. And that's been around for 3 to 5 years. So if we can get people adopting some of those things, I feel like we've got some work to do with things that are right underneath our nose too.
Well, and I also want to say to that point, Kelly, I think it's super important that an agency understands their process before they just go into adopting AI as a solution, right? We need to understand where is the process broken and how is it helping us before we just, jump into what we think is going to solve all of the world's problems. And then we find out that we don't use it or people don't adopt it. And there's a lot of that can happen too.
I love Nick Vitale. He just wrote in a funny. He says, "What's telematics?" I'm gonna write back. Ask ChatGPT. We got another question that came in though. What kind of information are verifying with the customer during your initial renewal call? Great question, Michael Cruz. So again, if you sign up for our Hard Market Heroes series, session 5 is all on the renewal review. We actually give you our renewal review checklist for farm, commercial, and personal lines. So what that means is you'll see all of our review questions that we've identified. Now, commercial, sometimes there's niches that you might have more questions on. And farm, depending on the scale of farm, you'll ask deeper ones. But this is a great starting point. But I'll just say for personal lines, it's like, have you had a job change? Job change indicates life insurance, difference in mileage. Maybe they have a home-based business. We've got, are these still the people in your household? Maybe there's a divorce. Maybe someone's moved in. Maybe the boyfriend's moved in. Maybe the boyfriend's kids moved in and is driving the car. We have you bought any toys, golf carts, electric bikes, all those other funny things. Although maybe stay away from electric bikes, are kind of hard to insure, but very cool, just kind of hard to insure. We ask things like, do you ever rent out your home? Are you driving for Uber or Lyft? We have scenarios along the lines of the coverage review as well. So I'm kind of speaking off the top of my head. There's about 12 questions we ask as review for personal lines. About the same for commercial lines, and farm goes a little bit more in detail, again, based on the type of farm. But all of them then lead into the coverage review to increase coverage based on recommendations and cross-selling. So the review questions hopefully cough up the need for more coverage, or cough up the need for some of those cross-sells. I'll let these guys talk about it, but the reality is I'm a lover of a checklist, because it is Thursday. In roughly about 2 hours, my brain's going to go mush without an energy drink. And so I just need to have something that I can just read the next one on. And I will say this, by far, the newer generation of staff, and I just launched renewal review calls at an agency in Georgia yesterday. They love a checklist. They want the structure. They want the guidance, because they don't have the OG brain of doing this year after year after year. They want to, and they haven't totally learned how to control a phone call yet. So if you have new people, checklists are your friends. But, I don't know if you guys want to chime in a little bit.
Well, I love it because I think it really helps me, even as a seasoned person, we can fall into really bad habits and forget to ask for the referral, or forget to ask a question, and that checklist just guides you through, provides the script. I mean, all you got to do is just follow it, and it really does make it super, super easy.
Well, and I think it helps the process throughout the agency, so everybody's doing it the same. So if everybody's using the same sheet, you're all doing it the same way, it kind of promotes the questions that we want to ask everybody. And when you fill in the top part, it actually, will fill in the bottom part. So anything that you fill up top, it pre-fills in the bottom, so you don't have to go up and down and scroll up and down on your sheet. It's also digital. You're not writing it down and having to re-enter the information. So you're doing a digital PDF that you could actually save and insert into your management system. And it walks you through step by step. And anything that needs to be inserted from the top automatically inserts into the bottom. If it's something that doesn't work with agency standards, it turns red. So it's like, oh, bright light, we need to fix this. So it's got a lot of cool features, and it's a really neat thing to have. I know when I was an agent, we didn't have anything like that. And it would have been nice to have a checklist like that, because like Kelly said, in the afternoon when you're doing these, you forget questions, and then you have to call back, or you have to, ask the customer again. So it's just a great asset, a great resource to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. We had one comment that we missed earlier. What is a good number of accounts for the account manager to have on average? I know there's a lot of factors. Yeah, there are, between personal, commercial line, standard, non-standard, all sorts of things. I will tell you this, my obsession is mo people, mo problems. So I like to run the agency efficiently, but with bandwidth, okay? That if somebody is struggling and we can have time for training, or if somebody's on vacation, it's not panic, or if somebody's just not a good fit or leaves us, we're not running in desperation mode. So when I try to run the agencies efficiently, we are not running down to the bone of efficiency, but I am thinking about all of the things I can take off their plate. Best practices says if your agency is between, I think, $1 million to $2.5 million in revenue, a personal lines account manager is about $225 in revenue per person. So this can vary greatly between like Florida, where your average home policy is like $700 million. But the commissions are lower, right? But there's more activity, to some place like Iowa that has some of the lowest premiums in the whole country. So a lot of it does have some of that, but those are the best practices that I like to go off of. I've heard other studies where it's 700 clients, but I'll be honest with you, and Bobby and I were just talking about this last night. So many agencies are saying, oh my gosh, we're so overwhelmed, we're just short staffed. And then we ask them, okay, well, where are you at revenue wise? How many people? The math equals out that they're overstaffed. And that's why the number of accounts is great, but your processes and procedures, like sometimes I'll walk into agencies and they'll have a person just attaching policies to the management system all day because they need that deck page. They can't go to the carrier website. They need it in the system. Or we're bloating things up by having too many people touch it. Or we have a big one in this hard market. I'm curious out there if anybody has any questions on this, but a big one in this hard market is, well, we just reshop everything automatically if it goes up 10%. And I just have to share, because I did just get an email from Jeremy Wallace, who's at the Insurance Alliance, Jason Casses. If any of you guys know him, Jason Casses said, I want to say a big thank you for your advice at BrainShare, specifically the part about remarketing or not remarketing renewals. We added a stage in our renewal pipeline titled Policy Renewal Review. In there, we've automated that sends them text messages and emails that highlight their policy increase and their desire to speak with them about it. Each correspondence has our calendar link in it. Even if they don't jump in our calendar, we do not task ourselves trying to go automatically reshop. More than 70% of the people are opening and reading the emails, and 70% of those people are not jumping on our calendar. This is a massive time saver. Before this, we quoted 100% of the people over a 15% increase and had proposals sent out to them. So now they've dropped their remarketing by 70%.
Wow.
Okay.
Our underwriters love that too.
Yeah. And it's like, but it's sometimes, and this is what we see so much in this hard market, right? And we talk about what to do about a hard market, and keep funneling in your questions, everybody, is the goalpost changed, right? And we keep doing things we did 2 years ago. And we have not adopted a new way of looking at things. And even to the point of, if you were shopping at a 10% rate increase, you're shopping everybody today. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, of course your staff's burned out and crispy. So how many people you need? Well, if you want to shop everybody at a 10% rate increase, you need a lot more bodies. But I would
Yeah.
not be doing that. Look, the diva has joined us from the
Oh,
Seattle airport.
Hello. Fresh
The
off an
hard market
airplane.
hero live waits for no one, diva.
I
He
wouldn't-
got-
I'm
he-
also, I kind of want to piggyback on that, Kelly, and say, I had a recent conversation with an account manager who said, their producer keeps throwing these things on their desk and saying, reshop this, but they've shopped this carrier over and over and over, and they cannot beat the premium with the carrier. So somebody needs to have the conversation, right? The account manager already knows, right? So we need to empower this person to have the conversation with the client and say, you have the best rate. We also then need to have the conversation with the producers to say, we're not reshopping all of your accounts. We're not doing the old school. We're going over the expiration list and highlighting everybody in green that's over 10% and then giving it to the account manager to reshop every account. If the account manager knows that it's not going to qualify and they are in the best place, give them the freedom to make that decision, empower them immediately now to stop the madness.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think we have to reevaluate every process in an agency right now to make sure that we're doing what's at the best interest of the client. And that's where that client tiering comes into play too. All too often I walk into agencies, it's like, well, what about Mrs. Betty Smith? And she comes here the second Tuesday of every month to pay her bill. And that's what she has to do that day. Are we going to tell Betty Smith that she cannot pay her bill here? And I go, you know what? We are not necessarily, we have to decide who we are. If we're going to be, if you're going to be that way, that's fine. You're going to have to staff up. And if you don't have the staff, you have to make decisions. And it's nice, again, in peace times, we can do all this stuff. In war times, we can't. And we're at war to keep our best clients. And if we say yes to Betty Smith, who wants to spend 45 minutes in our office and eat all the Hershey Kisses, we are not doing 3 proactive renewal reviews. Okay. So I want you to look at that from a perspective of a business perspective. 45 minutes with Betty Smith making her $700 payment for the year for her auto policy, or 3 renewal reviews to get proactive on people. What do you want to do?
3 renewals.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would. We do have another question on here, which I think is really good. How are you all handling the reality that underwriting guidelines are becoming more strict and the ease of doing business with all carriers is really changing? No doubt. For several reasons. Reinsurance is changing. Many carriers post huge losses last year, over 100%. And so we are in a hard market. So a couple things. New business, you need to scrub that new business and go find the best accounts. We cannot take gray area any longer. There is no gray area. We have no gray area. These need to be super squeaky clean accounts, which means you need to be working your book on renewal reviews to get the best quality referrals. And you will find that because there's a lot of agencies that are understaffed, under-technologied. The leader is not taking the hard market hero course, which we definitely want to make sure you guys sign up for. And so what ends up happening is those people are quiet quitting and they're returning phone calls 3 days later. Okay. And I think that we have to be honest with the fact that you can capitalize and suck in the best policies, the multi-policies, the people who are not struggling to pay their insurance. But if they're going to pay more, they want their darn phone call returned. And they should get their darn phone call returned. And so that is the first thing, is that you cannot rate everybody. You have to decline people. And the same thing on reshops. This is why we're saying you have to scrub those accounts and you have to get really rooted. In fact, session 4 of Hard Market Heroes is how to have the rate conversation. And we need to talk about inspections. We need to talk about the insurance commissioner who approves these rate increases. So it's not just happening to them. We need to explain why to people. And a lot of times we're getting phone calls into an agency that say, why did my rates go up? And we're like, hold on, let me shop you. Oh my goodness, we're going to drop everything. All you need to do, guys, is answer the question of why do my rates go up? Because the underwriting guidelines are like this, and then they're going to have inspections, and then we're going to get stipulated, and we might not hear back from our underwriters and commercial lines for a couple weeks. So we're blowing our client experience. And so we need to save our remarkets like a coveted little gem that we only use under extreme circumstances right now. And so the idea is that we educate people, and then we go discounts. We look at deductibles. $500 is not the same $500 it was 5 years ago. Okay. Upping the deductibles, getting your team good on telematics and auto. All right. It is the way of the future. It's going to happen. We all just have to embrace it. We have to be scrubbing these accounts. But I don't know if you guys have any, now that I've gone on my soapbox, I don't know if you guys have anything on the on the underwriter situation. And we do have a section on dealing with underwriters in the course.
Yeah, I was going to say, you really got to build those relationships with your underwriters too, right? If you are sending them 400 submissions just because you're remarketing your whole book, is that really true opportunity for them? How you're not really being their friend because they don't really know what is a true opportunity for a rewrite or a remarket, right? So we have to be keeping those relationships with those underwriters really tight right now, because I know that if I send a submission, that I always send them a clean account, that my apps are already, they're nice and tight and beautiful, and they know that it's going to bind. Guess who's going to get the quote first? Me. Right? So we need to be training our staff to make sure that their submissions are nice and beautiful and tight, and that we're keeping those relationships good with our underwriters during this time.
Yeah, there is a follow-up, I think, question right here, which is none of that matters. There's always going to be a fly-by-night carrier that will cut rate, especially if you're running commercial in California. Yeah. Bobby Fernandez was the CSR of the year in California, so she knows this, right?
Yeah, guess what? They don't want it next year.
and that's the key, right? And this is why I think that finally clients are going to be able to see the value of working with you, because you're going to educate them. You know, if you own a business, you also know in your heart that cheap anything you pay for. And if you want to go with the cheapest insurance and somebody's going to cut rate, you have double that. You also have agents that are not honest and that are going to let it catch them in post underwriting. And you've got, and this has been going on forever, by the way, workers' comp of people not classifying people correctly. And so the idea is that you have to sell now. You have to sell, and you have to sell your value, and you have to be ahead of it. I've had a saying for a long time I've used in sales. If you're the cheapest, you're not selling, you're collecting a signature. Okay. You need to sell your value now more than ever. Now, if you've been asleep at the wheel and haven't talked to these people in 4 years, you know what? It's not the price, it's you. Okay. And we need to have some hard looks in the mirror of if we have been too lazy, and if you are just complacent, somebody else is hungrier, and somebody else will eat your lunch because they're hungrier and they need to go out there. And, you know, in my humble opinion, it's our time now to show our value, but you need a value proposition. Can't tell you how many agencies I walk and say, why should I buy insurance from you? We give good service. I'm like, what do you do for service? If you call, I'll call you back.
We answer the phone.
Yeah, I answer the phone. If your rate goes up 10%, I automatically shop you and call you.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
And again, our goalpost has changed. I can't say that enough. It's like we're playing soccer on a freaking football field. And, you know, we're getting our butts kicked because there's linebackers coming at us. But we keep just trying to play soccer. And I just need everybody to sign up for the Hard Market Hero course. We got so much stuff in it. So keep your questions coming in. You know, one of my favorite sections in here, I just gave it this morning. I'm here at Kevin Painter Insurance in the wonderful Blue Ridge, Georgia, one of the top 10 places to live in the United States of America, in case you didn't know. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is our section. And I think every single person in insurance, producer, account manager, doesn't matter who you are, I think you all should take this, which is how to have confidence, because they don't teach that when you get your license. And if I go ahead and say, hey, Stephen, just want to let you know, I'm really sorry your rate went up, and your rate went up, and I'm so sorry about that. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some information. We're going to shop you, okay?
Shop away.
But does that give you confidence, or are you going to then go shop to say, I don't think this person knows what they're doing?
Or if they can't find a lower rate, then it might prompt me to be like, ooh, maybe I should go find it because they can't find one.
So I think that, and if you have confidence, you're less stressed at work. If you have confidence, you know you're doing the right thing because leadership has given you the right guidance. That's huge. But I'm curious, Therese, how you feel about our confidence section.
I definitely think it's something that we need. I think as we talk to clients, we get beat down, and I think our confidence kind of gets beat down with it, and we lose our confidence. So we start to think that, everything we're saying is wrong and that the customer's never going to be happy. So we need to use the strategies to basically build our confidence back up. We are licensed insurance agents for a reason. We had to get a license. We had to take a test. We need to make sure that we're using that education and that knowledge to give us the confidence that we should have when we're talking to these clients. We are the educated insurance agents. We are the experts in insurance, and we need to make sure that we show that value to the client and we show the client that we know what we're talking about. Now, if you have some agents that are newer, you should definitely do some of these renewal reviews with them sitting beside you and letting them train on it so they can build their confidence and learn more about how to do them. But I think we definitely need to make sure that we're remembering that we have a license. And when we get beat down, we need to find ways to build ourselves back up again.
Yeah, and I think confidence gets built by doing things in repetition, right? So the more we get out there, the better off we're going to be. We do have a new comment that came in. This is from our friend Charlie Michael. We need to leverage our experience and market knowledge. That's what the customer's paying for us when they go for a live agent. Yeah, they want a relationship. And they want the relationship too on their terms. Just because I did 2 renewal reviews back to back, and I didn't respond, I'm going to respond potentially this year. The other thing I just want to make super clear to everybody is that we in insurance are not always well liked. This might be shocking. Okay. Renewal reviews equal trust. If they trust that we're going to call them every year and review everything, they stay. Without relationship, they leave. And we have to look, did I earn my renewal commission every year, or did I just put it on autopilot and hope for the best? And I think for so many agencies, we talked a little bit about new business guidelines. Well, I want to work my current book for the best referrals. That's where I'm going to find my new business. And so if you look at renewal reviews as a sales opportunity for cross sells, coverage improvements, retention, and referrals, you see them differently than more work. They are a new business opportunity from the best type of new business, not all the influx in the market that's calling in whose rates have gone up because they have hair on their accounts. We can pinpoint and get the best new business out there.
I always love the client that calls that says they're trying to keep their agent honest. That is our opportunity to swoop in, right? Because if they're trying to keep their agent honest, it means they don't have a relationship. And so that's our opportunity to do that and jump on those accounts.
Or that they probably had their agent for 10 years, just never heard from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they're so loyal. Don't you want that loyalty in your agency?
I want that loyalty when they know who I am.
So another thing in lesson 4, we go over how to have the rate conversations. We actually go through a script. We role play it out. We talk a little bit about the process of how an insurance commissioner approves rate increases because people don't understand that. And, then it becomes who do people like just a little bit less than insurance? The United States government. True story. They do. So we want to make sure that we foster that. And I think that's huge. We then talk about renewal reviews, right? We're going to go into depth about how we do renewal reviews, and don't think it's all about making a call to everybody. I understand that's not everybody's jam. It does work though, just like burpees. Okay. They work, but we're also going to talk about how to have renewal reviews if people call us, and we need to get on top of it. And then our last section is on that remarketing strategy, who to remarket, who not to remarket. And we're doing 2 bonus sections, how to stop a cancellation. Someone calls and says, hey, I'm canceling. Can you send me the paperwork?
Of course.
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. What was the problem? Was it rate? It was rate? Okay, it was rate. And I'm going to call people out on this. Like, it's not rate if you haven't talked to them in 5 years. It's relationship.
Bye.
Seriously, I know. And then the final one that we have is going to be on the coastal and fire zones, because your world's just different. I will apologize to you. Your insurance market's just very, very difficult.
I was just in Florida. I can attest to that fact. And right before that, I was in Texas, and I can attest to that. And
And
I
you
did
live
Texas
in
in California, and I can attest to that. And I live in Washington, and I can attest to that.
Mhm. So, no one talks about the fine state of Rhode Island where I'm from, but we're so tiny and coastal. There's nowhere to spread the risk. We are this big, which means when there's weather, it comes across the whole darn thing. So, and you rate state by state. I hate to break it. We can't spread it into Massachusetts or Connecticut. We're just hanging there. So that's our approach. We can do final call for questions. Thanks guys so much. Definitely would love to welcome as many people as we can. Let me just kind of walk through, as we're waiting for final questions, how the hard market series works, right? So basically our hard market series is all live. We're doing it 3 times a week. You pay $4.95 and you get into all sessions. You can go 3 times a week if you like what we have to say. You can break your team up. Everybody in your team can go. We're not just doing a $4.95 per agency. Boom, 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 boom. And it's 6 weeks in a row. If you can't, you have an add-on to buy the recordings if you want to catch them. So if your team says that they don't have time for training, they can throw this on in the background. You can close for a lunch and learn. You can have them watch the training videos later on. But we don't have time to not figure out this market. And I can tell you, by going in every week, I leave my family, my adorable dog, America, my husband, who is not quite as adorable as America, but pretty cool. But I leave and I go out and I go into agencies and we look at the processes. And I can tell you, almost every agency we start with, the processes are bloated and they're killing your team. Think about what Jeremy just said on that testimonial I just read. We have processes that are killing our team's productivity.
Or there is no processing.
Where everybody's doing their own thing, right? And that's hard. We need to show metrics. Those are things we're going to all be talking about. So sign up for the Hard Market Hero series. It's going to be a game. It's going to give you a playbook, and there is no playbook. There has not been a market like this in 75 years. I'm 41. Although the guy at Jersey Mike's last night told me I look 28. So, so you wouldn't.
You do have a pretty good skincare regimen right now.
I do have a good. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You're right. I do. And so we want to make sure we're on track with those things. But we don't see other questions coming in. If you do, email us, call us, social media us. We go live Tuesday at 10. We've got one on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week, all on how to lead your troops. And if you're walking around thinking, man, my team says that they don't have any time for training, this is the session you need to get on, because it's not, what they're saying is I'm drowning. It has nothing to do with training. They don't have time to go to the bathroom. They don't have time to eat lunch. And guess what that's going to do if we do this for 3 to 5 years? You're going to end up with some crispy account managers, or they're going to leave. And you need to do everything in your power to keep this team pumped, psyched, happy, serving your clients and customers. And right now, if you don't have a plan, this will give you a plan. So please, please, please sign up. You can see it in the comments. Reach out. We love to talk to you. So final words. Therese, any final words for our fans and friends?
I'm just really excited about this series. I think it's a great series for staff members. I think sometimes we overlook their needs for basically different tips and tricks on how to answer questions and answer things that customers come in with. So I just think it's a great series. I think it'll help everybody who attends it. Somebody's going to learn something new.
Absolutely. Stephen.
I think it's good that we can hear the word that we're all not so special as we thought we were, and that everybody's going through it. Because when we start having those conversations with people, we think we're the only ones, or it's only affecting me and my agency. But I guarantee you can go next door is probably doing the same thing with them, and the same with the person down the street, and all across the country. So I think it's great that we can spend some time talking about it, being open and honest, and learning how to handle it rather than hide from it.
Bobby, what do you got?
I think we don't have the time not to coach our team and give them the strategies that they need at this time. So you might hear pushback that says we're busy or we don't want to, but I'm going to say, what's the cost to your agency if you don't do it?
Absolutely. And I'll finish off with this. I love what Bobby said, but I think it's hard for them to think that they're stepping away to not serve their customers. And you need to create that space for them to say, no, this is for you to feel good about how we're serving our customers. And again, it's so flexible that time should not be the issue. If you spend 10 minutes a day for 5 days, it's an hour long, you'll get through it. So I think that we all have to say for $495 and you can get the recordings for an add-on, like you can come back to this, even pull apart pieces of it. But I think that we all need to just be thinking about how to serve and love our team right now, because they need a new plan and they keep doing the things they were doing 2 years ago in a different market. And by the way, 2 years ago, they were still complaining about being backlogged and busy and how people couldn't handle rates. Well, now it's here. And I just think that there's such an opportunity that we're going to be missing if we don't hop on it. So tell your friends. It goes up to $7.95 on Tuesday. So we definitely want everybody to go ahead and register before then. So we will see you guys hopefully all Tuesday. Let us know if there's anything questions. And Jean, I will tell Painter to get some work done today when I see him at dinner. Bye, everybody.
Have a good one.